Morning, members, and welcome to the 13th day of this 68th Wyoming Legislative Session, February the 24th, 2026. Welcome, members. Thank you for being here. Assistant Chief Clerk, please take the roll.
Convening roll call for the 13th day, February 24th, 2026. Alamand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Byler, Fornstrom, Geringer, Gugemas, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washit, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Mr. Speaker.
Here.
59 present, 3 excused.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Clerk. Just so for your information, and you could also, as we well know, that Representative Kelly is still at home working on his back issue. Representative Wasserberger was here this morning, got to have a nice breakfast with him, and then he got rid of that breakfast and went home. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest that you continue to take care of yourselves, get plenty of rest. It is kind of trying to make its a lap through here. And so just be mindful. You know, if you're not feeling good, I will encourage you all this. If you're not feeling well when you get up in the morning and you know it's not going to work, while I appreciate your desire to be here and to fulfill your representative responsibilities and obligations, if you're going to come here and be thoroughly sick, it'd probably be best if you just stayed home and take care of yourself and just let me know. And so, but Representative Rossenberger has gone home today. So, all right, next on our order of business is Pastor Mark Maas, King of Glory Lutheran Church in Cheyenne, Wyoming. If you'd please rise and we will open in prayer. Welcome, Pastor Maas.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and most gracious God, you are ruler of the nations, yet you have brought people together to exercise that role on your behalf. This day we thank you that your hand has brought this body together on behalf of the citizens of Wyoming. We plead with you, dear Father, to guide and direct them under your Spirit's hand. May you bless them with wisdom and insight. May they continue to see that you are a God of peace and hope, that they would gain wisdom and understanding from your gracious care, and do all things according to your will and for the betterment of your people. May compassion and mercy be evident to all, both in their words to each other and for the citizens of Wyoming. This we ask in the name of Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Yes, please join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next on our agenda here, we need our Journal Committee report. Reading clerks.
Your Journal Committee reports that the Journal of February 23rd, 2026 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Representatives Posey and Jarvis.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Representative Stivar, please.
Mr. Speaker, privilege.
By all means, proceed.
Thank you. Today is the 35th day of the ground war starting for Desert Storm. There's two of us in here that actually crossed the berm. So we need to recognize that. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Stivar. And we recognize and we appreciate and we're so thankful for our members in the armed forces that work and sign their lives on an open check. And they give that to this country in the hope that it will never be asked for, but the courage and the valor that it takes to make that statement and that commitment to this nation is greatly appreciated, and it's how we can still assemble in a free country. So thank you all that have participated and served in our armed forces for your sacrifice, not only from you, but from your families that serve with you as well. We do appreciate it. We are thankful. And as a nation, we give you thanks. Representative Chestick, please
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
proceed.
Members, if you could direct your attention to the South Gallery, if our group could stand and rise, you'll see a lot of blue shirts up there. Today, I'm honored to recognize a group joining us today at Capital for Hunger Relief Advocacy Day, also known as Wyoming Against Hunger. Advocates from across our state are gathering here in Cheyenne to highlight the importance of protecting and fully funding the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, and to strengthen hunger relief efforts statewide. Advocates include our First Lady, Jenny Gordon, SNAP remains one of the most effective tools we have to reduce hunger while also supporting our local economies. For many Wyoming families, seniors, veterans, working parents, and children, this program helps put food on the table during difficult times. As we consider critical funding decisions this session, it's essential that we hear directly from the organizations and individuals working on the front lines of hunger relief in our community. The people in front of you are those people on the front lines doing this very important work. Members, I encourage you to take a moment to connect with these dedicated individuals, to listen to their experiences, and to learn more about the impact of hunger relief programs in your districts. Please join me in welcoming the participants of Wyoming Against Hunger to the Wyoming State Capitol and thanking them for their commitment to serving the people of our great state.
Welcome, First Lady, and all of the rest of you here with her to the chamber. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your efforts in the quest to make sure that no one goes hungry in this nation. And we appreciate your efforts and are thankful for the work that you do for that. So thank you for being here with us today. Appreciate it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any others? Representative Larson, JT, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I actually have a couple of groups / people to introduce. Members up in our North Gallery over here, we have a young man from Rock Springs High School. He participated in a challenge that our Mayor Max Mickelson put together to design a new Rock Springs flag. I have it here on my lapel here over here, and his name is Brandon Swigert. He won the competition, and we are really proud of him and for participating in the community, and look forward to all he does in his future. So please welcome him to the House. And Mr. Speaker, also here cheering him on and is a group with the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce Boost Leadership Academy. They're in the north and west gallery, and they're here to see us do some work today. And we'd also like to welcome that entire group to the house. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Larson, and thank you for being here. Appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to be with us and share part of the morning here, or maybe all day. Maybe you want to be here all day and see how the House and what we do and accomplish here. Appreciate you being here and thank you for your efforts. All right, anyone else? Representative Filer, please.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Can I have a quick privilege?
You did really well yesterday, so yes, please try again.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this isn't my joke either. It came from somebody else, so it's probably really good. Anyway, folks, what do you get when you cross a fish and an elephant? Swim trunks.
Thank you, Representative Filer. Okay, any other announcements or privileges? Seeing none, on to messages from the Senate. No messages, okay. First reading on Senate files for introductions. Today we have both that we are at that order of business of Senate files on introduction. First Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 56. Reading clerk.
Senate File 56, sponsored by Senator Landon.
First reading of the bill.
Kratom Product Regulation.
Senate File 56 will be assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. Next Senate file for our consideration is Senate File 35.
Senate File 35, sponsored by Senator Schuler.
First reading of the bill.
School District Cell Phone and Smartwatch Policies.
Senate File 35 will be assigned to Committee Number 4, Education. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 59.
Senate File 59, sponsored by Education.
First reading of the bill.
K through 12 Language and Literacy Program.
Senate File 59 will also be assigned to Committee Number 4, Education. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 81.
Senate File 81, sponsored by Recalibration. K
For-
through 12.
Nope, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
First reading of the bill.
K through 12 Public School Finance 2.
Senate File 81 will be also assigned to Committee Number 4, Education. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 90.
Senate File 90, sponsored by Senator Brennan.
First reading of the bill.
School Facilities Use Fees.
Senate File 90 will also be assigned to Committee Number 4, a very busy committee, Number 4, Education. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 50.
Senate File 50, sponsored by Senator Love.
First reading of the bill.
State Engineer, Surface and Groundwater Studies.
Senate File 50 will assign Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 69.
Senate File 69, sponsored by Water.
First reading of the bill.
Waste and Stormwater Infrastructure Study.
Senate File 69 will also be assigned to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 84.
Senate File 84, sponsored by Water.
First reading of the bill.
Voluntary Water Conservation Program.
Senate File 84 will be assigned to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 25.
Senate File 25, sponsored by Travel.
First reading of the bill.
Landowner License Limits in Limited Quota Hunt Areas.
Senate File 25 will be assigned to Committee Number 6, Travel. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 26.
Senate File 26, sponsored by Travel.
First reading of the bill.
Game and Fish Property Tax Exemption Amendments.
Senate File 26 will be assigned to Committee Number 6, Travel. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 66.
Senate File 66, sponsored by Senator French.
First reading of the bill.
Donated Hunting Licenses Amendments.
Senate File 66 will also be seen by Committee Number 6, Travel. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 105.
Senate File 105, sponsored by Senator Jones.
First reading of the bill.
Real Estate Brokers Duties and Disclosure Amendments.
Senate File 105 will be assigned to Committee Number 7, Corporations. Next Senate file will be Senate File 95.
Senate File 95, sponsored by Senator Pappas.
First reading of the bill.
Drivers and Motor Vehicle Services, Third-Party Providers.
Senate File 95 will be assigned to Committee Number 8, Transportation. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 20.
Senate File 20, sponsored by Blockchain.
Next, first reading of the bill.
Data Privacy, Government Entities.
Senate File 20 will be assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. Senate File 22, next Senate file for our consideration.
Senate File 22, sponsored by Blockchain.
First reading of the bill.
Unincorporated Nonprofit Associations Amendments.
Senate File 22 will be assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 119.
Senate File 119, sponsored by Senator Hicks.
First reading of the bill.
Strategic Investments and Projects Account, Repeal 2.
Senate File 119 will be assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. Next and last Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File 123.
Senate File 123, sponsored by Senator Beitman.
First reading of the bill.
Wyoming Energy Dominance Fund.
Senate File 123 will be assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. Thank you, Reading Clerk. Reports from standing committees, Reading Clerk.
Senate File 17, sponsored by Select Federal Natural Resource Management. Good Neighbor Authorities Amendments, an act relating to state lands. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred Senate File 17 engrossed. Good Neighbor Authority Amendments. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Banks, Davis, Fornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman. Senate File 43, sponsored by Senator Hicks. Conservation District Supervisor Contracting, an act relating to conservation districts. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred Senate File 43. Conservation District Supervisor Contracting. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Banks, Davis, Fornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman. Senate File 70, sponsored by Water. Omnibus Water Bill Construction, an act relating to water development projects. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred Senate File 70 engrossed. Omnibus Water Bill Construction. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Banks, Davis, Fornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman. Senate File 79, sponsored by Revenue, Sales and Use Tax Reorganization, an act relating to sales and use tax. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 3, Revenue, to whom is referred Senate File 79, Sales and Use Tax Reorganization. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Riggins, Storer, Stivar, Wharf. Representative Locke, Chairman. Senate File 80, sponsored by Revenue. Department of Revenue, Electronic Communication, an act relating to sales and use taxes. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 3, Revenue, to whom is referred Senate File 80. Department of Revenue, Electronic Communication. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Riggins, Storer, Stivar, Wharf. Representative Locke, Chairman. Senate File 68, sponsored by Water. Water Districts Funds for Maintenance Projects, an act relating to irrigation projects. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred Senate File 68 engrossed. Water District Funds for Maintenance Projects. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes. Representatives Banks, Davis, Fornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Representative Brown, please, sir. You have something?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
Absolutely. Proceed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys just got tired of sitting already, so I want to have you guys stretch those legs real quick. And back here in our West Gallery is half of our class of our Chamber's Leadership Cheyenne. I spent this morning talking with them, kind of going over the details of what we've done over the past 44 hours of debate with our budget, what the recalibration bill is going to look at, and plenty of other issues that are facing the state of Wyoming. These guys are highly engaged, and they're very, very focused on the outcome of what's going to come out of this body and the other body down the hall. And they are here today to watch for about an hour, and we're going to see the other half of the Leadership Cheyenne class here in just a few minutes, but please welcome them to the House.
Thank you for joining us and welcome to the House. Appreciate you being here, and your engagement in this process. We do value that greatly. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at that order of business of bills on second reading. The first bill for our consideration is Senate File number 5. Reading clerk.
Senate File 5, sponsored by Labor, Hospital Bankruptcy Proceedings and Act relating to counties.
Senate File 5, let's see what. Senate File 5. Just a moment, just on my end here. Senate File 5, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate File for our consideration, Senate File 7.
Senate File 7, sponsored by Judiciary, Theft Amendments, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
Senate File 7, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, oh, not on this one. Oh, there it is. Okay, just got it. Thank you for catching that. All right. 2 amendments. Okay, we have amendments. Representative Provenza, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 7 for your favorable consideration. Members, this first amendment puts a time frame. So some of the conversation yesterday was that at any point in your life, if you have misdemeanor theft charges, you could be convicted of a felony. What this does is put some time frame on it, because the intent of the body or the committee, number 1, was to try and get people that were doing organized crime, right? So this puts some parameters on it, kind of limits the scope so that we can potentially reduce maybe the number of people that we're sending into DOC and look for other measures to work on this issue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Representative. Anyone on the amendment? Representative Washut, first time on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's not uncommon for there to be time limits on criminal offenses, repeat offenses within a certain time frame. But we also have statutes that don't have that type of time frame, that simply say, if you commit this crime multiple times, you get the enhanced penalty. So it's really a policy call for the body. I leave it to your discretion.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Singh, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All I can say is that this bill was thoroughly vetted, and this is a very intentional change that we're making. And so I'd ask for your no on this amendment.
Any other members for your first time? Representative Larson Lloyd, first time.
Thank you, and Mr. Speaker, and appreciate the conversation, because this is part of the vetting process. That's why we do it on both sides of the chambers, and why we have it here. And we heard a long conversation yesterday in saying, so what do we do? It was these same 2 people, the nice person up front and the cranky guy in the back, that talked about this same issue. And the question was, okay, but fine, then if we don't do this, what's the cure? We don't necessarily have a cure, but does it make sense within somebody's lifetime, 3 of those offenses, that you have an enhanced penalty going to a felony? I don't think so. I think that this is really a right step in the right direction to say, within a 3-year period of time, if you do this, then it's gonna be a felony. I still think we're trying to protect the businesses that are really being impacted adversely with these types of thefts and ongoing challenges. But I appreciate the speaker the bringer of this amendment. I think that it's a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for your first time? Representative Lean, for your first time, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and opposed to the amendment, you see, the first time you make a mistake, it's just that, a mistake. But every time you make that choice thereafter, it is a choice that you made. So when we get up to 3 times that you've created theft, why would it not be a felony? You're intentionally making a choice to commit that crime. So on and opposed.
Any other members for the first time on the amendment? First time? Representative Yen, first time on the amendment.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So I think something I would like to hear from either the bringer or some folks on judiciary is how much are we talking about for the subsequent offense? Are we talking about a pack of gum that you steal at 3 separate times? I guess I just need to know the range before we adjust this. I get the organized crime portion. I think that's super important. We need to make sure that we do that, but I also want to make sure that the level that we apply as punishment proportionally fits the crime. So trying to figure out what that proportionality looks like is important. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for the first time? First time, seeing none. Going on to second time, Washit, Singh, Larson, Lean, and Yin. Representative Washit, for your second time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A couple of things. Remember that there is always prosecutorial discretion. Our prosecutors always have a choice on how or if a criminal charge is filed. And so, frankly, I have great confidence that our prosecutors aren't going to file a 3-time gum thief with a felony crime. And so what this gives the prosecutors is the option in the proper cases to file this charge if appropriate. And so keep that in mind. And also, yesterday there was some conversation about the cost of incarceration. And I would offer to you that it is exceedingly rare that a first-time property felony generates a prison term. It happens, but vastly unlikely.
Representative Singh, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I guess I've been reminded to update my grocery list. I might need some gum. But with that being said, we are not correcting a single crime in this instance. We're correcting a behavior. And are we going to accept the normalization of taking things which should be sold, just taking them from the stores? I don't think we should. Thank you.
Representative Larson, for your second time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And these points on both sides really are valid. And I think that there's a fair argument to be had. We had one in the hallway here yesterday that kind of carried on the afternoon between me and the presenter of this. And I think when we say, how many times do we have to tell you? Surely 3 times is enough and you ought to be guilty. And I would think for most, excluding me, most of you are the state of mind that that's probably right. You probably don't have to be told 3 times. But there are those of us who may have some challenges, some ongoing challenges mentally or with behavioral challenges that due to medications, due to behaviors, I don't know when the proper amount of time is, but I think saying within a given time frame, if you do it multiple times, okay. But I think that we're all on the same level emotionally, mentally, in our personal lives to say, now 3 times that's more than enough. I would even argue maybe 70 times 7 might be enough. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any of the members for the second time? I have Lean and I have Yin. Seeing none, back to the bringer. Representative Pimenza, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So for the question on what is misdemeanor, it technically could be a pack of gum. Again, that would be up to the discretion. So anything that is under $1,000 is misdemeanor theft. And again, this bill and the discussion about 3 times or 5 times, I'm not changing that right now. This amendment is taking within a 3-year period. So it's not saying, it's not trying to remove the 3 to 5, it's just saying within a time frame. In terms of prosecutorial discretion, yes, there is some discretion there, but the language that you'll see on page 2 says, tried shall be guilty of felony punishable. So the question is, this body has heard from businesses. Imagine being a prosecutor getting a report from a victim saying, I want this prosecuted to the greatest extent of the law. We're hearing that, they're going to hear that. So there is pressure to try and go for a felony conviction. The other thing is, again, there wasn't data brought to us from our great general on what the prosecution has looked like since we have implemented this in 2023. There's not really data to suggest that this works or doesn't work, or what the impacts are in our justice system. Trying to make sure I answer all of these questions. I will say, body, it does come with up to 10 years. It's not often that a prosecutor is not going to put someone in prison or in jail and remove someone's freedoms if they have an up to 10-year sentence. So they're not going to walk away oftentimes, particularly as we're going to see that they've repeatedly committed this offense. And I'll submit to you, I don't like this bill, but this is what it looks like for someone to try and work a bill to make it better. And I might not agree with the premise, and I might disagree that this is the solution to the problem, but I do think we need to think critically about what we're doing here. If we don't have some sort of framework around this, there is just a risk that we're going to overburden our correctional facilities that are already having to send people out of state. So from a government efficiency standpoint, this is a solution, and I hope that you will support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Body, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 7. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. Division being called. All those in favor, please stand. You may be seated. All those opposed, please stand. Yeah, more than 15. All right, the amendment has not been adopted. Next amendment for our consideration on House Bill or Senate File number 7. Second reading amendment number 2, Representative Provenza, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 7 for your favorable consideration. I get back up and I'll get knocked down again. I am asking here that we provide a little bit more direction and discretion to our prosecutors. So instead of shall be charged with, they are given language that say may be charged with, so that they understand if they get somebody who's come in for 3 separate offenses, maybe one was 20 years ago, they have clear direction that they don't necessarily need to try and prosecute with a felony conviction. So that's all that this does. I appreciate your favorable vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Chairman Washut, please, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this is fairly common language throughout Title VI. Crimes and offenses shall be guilty of. It's just a phraseology that we use in many places in our criminal code.
Any other member for the first time? Representative Singh, for your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm on and for the amendment. I think it provides leeway for our judicial branch to be able to make the decision they need to make. Thank you.
Any other members, first time on the amendment? Seeing none, second time? Seeing none, back to the bringer. Representative Provenza, please.
Vote aye. Thank you.
Members, you're voting on second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 7. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Man, the amendment has been adopted. Division being called. I wondered if that'd bring you out. Okay. All those in favor, please stand. Okay, you may be seated. All those against, please rise. Yep. More than 20. All right. The amendment has not been adopted. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Senate file number 7, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 8. Reading clerk.
Senate File 8, sponsored by Judiciary, absconding for criminal purposes, criminal offense, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
Senate File 8, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration be Senate File 11.
Senate File 11, sponsored by Transportation, burials of indigent veterans amendments, an act relating to defense forces and affairs.
Senate File 11, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 16.
Senate File 16, sponsored by Agriculture, subleasing of state lands, exemptions, an act relating to state lands.
Senate File 16, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration will be Senate File on second reading, number 18.
Senate File 18, sponsored by Education, attendance of students in K through 12 schools, an act relating to enrollment of students in K through 12 public schools.
Okay, we have amendments. First amendment for our consideration is Representative Jarvis, please. Representative, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading Amendment 1 to Senate File 18.
Perfect. Very good.
I just want everybody to take a look at, because I know there was some question about whether where this 10-day rule existed. And so I've put on everybody's desk this, so I can hold it up, correct? Okay, this document. And it shows that in Chapter 13, which is Wyoming law, so it's not Constitution and it's not rules, it sits in law. Article 1, at the very last sentence says, pupils who have withdrawn from school or who have been absent for more than 10 consecutive calendar days shall not be counted as a member. And what member means is they have to be dropped from your enrollment. And you're not allowed to claim ADM on them. So I just want to be really, really clear on the why, because I know there was some questions on why do schools hold kids who've finished work early captive in study hall for the semester. This is why. And I know there was some questions around are the schools just trying to get money? Is this a ploy to get extra ADM and finances? And I'm going to ask you guys this, okay? You take a course right here for an entire semester, and you complete this course. You take another course for 8 weeks, and you complete this course. Is a course not a course? Like, is a course not a course? Are we trying to get over on somebody and get districts extra money. No, just getting paid for the course. So I ask you for your favorable consideration because this is in statute. School districts do have to drop children if they have finished early, or they do have to hold them hostage in this game of, hey, you have to come in every 9 days and sit here for the day in order to get credit for this course so we can graduate you. Because if they do not finish right now that semester, then districts are required to put IC, and IC stands for incomplete, on transcripts. And so it gets into this funny situation because then the opportunity to offer virtual education, a lot of districts don't want to mess with that because then they have to chase these kids down and we have kids sitting in our study halls. Or the opportunity to create some really amazing mastery-based education, like show me you know it, and I'll give you credit for this course. Prove to me you have all the knowledge of Algebra 1, and I will give you credit for Algebra 1 so you can go to Algebra 2. Like, no need to hold you hostage in a class that you already have the knowledge for. You guys, this is a beautiful thing. And it also works really, really well for our at-risk kids. And let me tell you why. Right now, in a school district for which I work in, we have a young lady who's working through trying to get graduated because she's got a baby and she works full-time. So she's been coming to school half the day and finishing up the last couple courses and credits that she needs to graduate. And then she's been working the rest, and she goes home at night and does a boatload of homework to finish this course early. She's done. And we have to have her find childcare to come back into study halls. So this not only works superbly for CTE, for virtual education, if a kid gets all the work done early, for our at-risk kids. This does an amazing thing, and there is no ploy to this. We're not trying to get something over on anybody. This frees up to allow some really amazing things to happen in education. And that's what I think this body's been pushing for, is for us to look at education a little bit differently and provide that opportunity. And I know the question was asked, does this work well for homeschool kids? It works phenomenally for homeschool kids. This provides so many different options, and then the school district can legally give them credit for a course. No questions asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Lawley, for your first time, please, on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against the amendment, I ask you to resist this amendment for a couple of different reasons. Number one, this amendment is outside the scope of what this bill is trying to do. And in fact, the good representative herself provided us a roadmap to where this might actually fit in 2113-101 with what she passed out. This is not the place for the bill subject matter wise, and it's not the place in the statute if she would want to pursue that. So for those reasons alone, you should reject it. It's just really not what the bill's about. It's bringing in an entirely different subject. As you saw from the discussion that we just heard, it really isn't centered around homeschoolers and access. It's centered around the idea of ADM and how that's counted. And that brings me to the second reason you should reject this amendment, which is the department has issued about 7 pages of guidance on student-centered learning and competency-based education that actually shows there's no real problem here, like that there's options in the district. So again, it's a amendment in search of an actual problem. It doesn't fit under this bill, and you should just reject it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Andrew, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against this amendment, the good Vice Chair of Education and I sat down with the Department of Education, the department this morning and went through some of these problems. There is nothing in state statute that requires a school to not give a student credit after they complete a course through mastery. And there's nothing in our state law that says they cannot give them credit for that if they are gone for 10 days. They can complete the course, the student can be unenrolled from school, and they can get credit for that course. The issue is that the school, after the 10 days, stops getting money for them being in the classroom. They stop counting in the average daily membership, which means that in the end, they get less money. So what these schools are doing to keep them in the homeroom every 9 days or whatever it is they're practicing ADM farming. They're keeping the kid enrolled so that they can increase their ADM and get more funding at the end of the year. If the student continues to be enrolled in the district and taking other courses, they don't actually drop from the ADM. They don't have to be dropped at all. This is a very specific situation in which a homeschooler takes a specific type of class based on mastery and doesn't stay the entire year and then wants to be unenrolled. They no longer want to be enrolled in the school district. They in fact want to be dropped. The only problem we're trying to solve is the school district losing membership. What this amendment does is it creates ghost students that don't exist so that the schools no longer have to abuse the system and farm more ADM. Thank you.
Representative Washut, for your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a family I'm fairly familiar with that homeschools, sends kids to school part-time, and then their youngest child was diagnosed with cancer. And the older kids needed to go to Denver with their little sister. So it seems to me that if the treatment required that they be in Denver for multiple days, it didn't, but it came close. Those kids could have been dropped from the rolls for the semester in which that care was provided to their little sister. So I think this amendment does fit within the homeschool topic of this bill. And I think we should be cognizant that it could come into play for some of our homeschool families for some very legitimate needs to be absent from class, aside from competency, right? The old Carnegie versus competency debate. But I think in some very practical settings, this could come into play. And I'm going to be an aye vote on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time on the amendment? Seeing none, second time? Andrew or Lolly? Representative Andrew, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In response to that situation, nothing in state law requires that the school can't work with that situation and give the students credit for those hours. What happens is that they would have to be dropped from, again, just the ADM, but giving them credit is a local decision and they can work with that.
Thank you, Representative. Back to the bringer, Representative Jarvis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to respond to a couple of these concerns. I'm not bringing to you a bill that's talking about finance. I'm showing you that this actually just exists in law. The 10-day rule is a real thing in law. It exists. It is something that the school districts are bound to. There is a bunch of rules with WDE as far as virtual education, and there are a lot of Carnegie. Carnegie means rear end and seat. School districts cannot give you credit for work that you are doing outside the school and count you as present if it is a regular Carnegie course. Attendance after 10 days of not showing up, even if you're logging on, if the school district isn't registered as a virtual education provider, they cannot provide virtual education to their schools. Some school districts have gone through that process where they've become virtual education providers, and some districts haven't. If they have not, they're bound to physically being present to be able to count them for this. Is there Carnegie, or is there the possibility for competency-based credit? Yes, that exists in our statute. Right now, we can, in the state of Wyoming, give a mastery-based credit. The problem is we're still bound to Carnegie rules. So if the kid doesn't continue to come, we must drop them. And I'll be really, really clear. 10 days, so if a kid just decides to miss English because they really don't like the class, so they come late every day because it's their first period class, and they miss English 10 days in a row, the school district has to drop them from the English class. They can still be a student in all the other courses, but they cannot get credit for their English class. They have to go through the process of re-enrolling. So all of that paperwork for those parents that filled that out, you have to go back and re-enroll your student if they're under 18, or they have to re-enroll themselves if they're over 18, again, to get re-enrolled in that class to be able to get the credit for that class. I can tell you that I've worked with our agency very, very closely on competency-based education, and I'm happy to share with all of you a grant application that I was asked to put forth for them. 4 weeks ago, I created a grant application that I was asked to give them, and it asks for exemption around competency-based attendance because that's the one hiccup to being able to do that really well. Does this allow for some pretty amazing things to happen in education? It really does. And you guys, help me understand how a course is not a course. This isn't a ploy for the school districts to get something over on everybody. It truly is just an ask to be able to let those kids that are in those really unique situations show us that they know the work and that we can still graduate them or give them full credit for the course. That's it. And I think it does work beautifully because then when we open this up for education as a whole, I can tell you there's going to be a lot more school districts that are really excited about creating those project-based, competency-based learning programs. Because if a course is a course, then a course is a course. Thank you. And I ask, please, for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Body, you are voting on second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 18. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Division being called. All those in favor, please stand. Okay, all those opposed, please stand. Stand still. It's going to be close, so stand still. All right, you may be seated. The amendment has not been adopted, 27-32. All right, next amendment for our consideration on Senate File 18, second reading amendment 2, Representative Harshman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 18. And members, you've got two papers that were handed out to you. One is for an upcoming amendment on another bill. I used to be copy certified. I tried to make that front to back, save a little paper, but I pushed two-sided and two-sided. So anyway, I'd like you to take the circles out. Picture's worth 1,000 words. Okay, what I'm trying to do with this amendment, it's not going to cost any money. But this will probably be a thing where you'll add 3 weeks more classroom time to every class. English, math, science, welding, you name it. And this go back to the early 2000s when we adopted the model. A full-time student was considered 50% or more. So a kid could take seminary, be gone a period, could go to work, whatever their senior year, and they're still given credit for a full-time student at 50%. Now, go back to 16, 17, 18, when we were really broke. And the sharpest, steepest downturn in state's history. And we did a special recalibration in 17. We had a 5-part plan to kind of bolster education. Coley's bonus had gone away. We were really hurting. And so we raised this ADM level up, and the idea was to go to 75%. And then the conference committee came back, and it was at 85. And I said to the conference committee, I said, this won't work. And they said, I was speaker then, they said, Mr. Speaker, we go back, this whole thing will crater. And so what happened then, we went from 50% to 85% attendance to be a full-time student. So what's happened then, what the policy we instituted made school districts change. And so that top circle where this is A, B, C, D, they're all equal blocks. A lot of our high schools, I think, and I know the 4A big schools, Campbell County does not do a block schedule. They do a 6 or 7 period day. Laramie does a hybrid. But most of the others are block schedules, and a lot of our small schools are block schedules as well. But so you have these 4 blocks, equal time. Now, when this went to 85%, okay, so 25, 25, 25, 25. So if a kid takes a period off to go to seminary across the street, or go work, or do whatever, take 25% away from 100, it's 75. They're not a full-time student. So the district loses funding. So we forced the district then to adopt a model like the second circle. They take time out of every period and then put a homeroom in, where I wrote homeroom. Usually A and B blocks are the most attended, they know their statistics, and they'll put that at the end of A or the end of B block. And so when a kid goes 3 blocks now and the homeroom, it gets them to 85. Okay, great. What happened? Well, you took 10 minutes out of each block. That's 10 minutes less math a day. 10 minutes less science, 10 minutes less English, less history, less welding, whatever it is. And one thing time is, we don't make any more time. And so when you do those minutes over a school year, 175 day, most of us went to school in like a traditional calendar, 55-minute periods, bell rings, go to the next. It's 3 to 4 weeks of classroom time and the traditional schedule. You talk to any teacher who's been teaching a while before this was implemented, there is less history covered, there is less math covered, there's less welding covered. There is less time because we forced this on them. And I know, I've talked to the chairman, he'll get up, people say, well, the districts didn't have to do that. Yeah, they do. We forced them to. That was our policy we made. So we could go back to 75, put 3 more weeks back into every class on these block schedule schools of time, That's a big deal and not cost a penny more. So I hope, and I look forward to the discussion on this. This will be one little thing that we could do that'll really make a difference. And it was really a mistake in a conference committee back at the old Jonah Center, really late at night, frankly. And it has consequences. So look forward to discussion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Members, Representative Ocean, Andrew, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against this amendment, I have voted or co-sponsored this bill or amendment in whatever form it comes 2 or 3 times every session I have been in the legislature. And I went from supporting it to not supporting it because essentially what's happening is they're doing the exact same thing I explained on the other amendment. If a student is only in school for 75% of the school day, they should be 75% of an ADM. This number should honestly be 100% if we want to fix the problem, not 75%, because we create this 80% level that schools are desperately trying to get above so they can just get a little more money. And they do the same thing. They try to farm ADM by keeping them in a classroom just a little bit longer before they let them leave to a seminary class or whatever they're going to. And they can do that, but it's just not a healthy practice. It's not a good practice. And giving them Go students to deal with that and to basically financially incentivize them not to behave poorly is the wrong way to handle this bill. Thank you.
Representative Singh, for your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm kind of torn on this amendment, folks. The way I see it, of course, we want our kids to be attending school as much as possible and to make sure that they're getting the adequate education that they need. But at the end of the day, it's the property taxes of their parents that are paying the bills. And if for whatever reason, the parents have decided that, hey, we just can't hit that 80% mark, then why is it that we should deprive them from being just as adequate as somebody who happened to attend what may amount to 1 or 2, 3 days because, hey, maybe they wanted to go, grandma died, and then they also wanted to go on a trip, and that's really at the discretion of the parents. And so I challenge this 80% threshold, and I understand. I mean, I want our kids to be as educated as possible, but at the same time, we need to give the parents the leeway to make sure that they have that authority over their students' lives. So I guess I'm on and for this amendment.
Representative Jarvis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I do know that there's some things coming our direction here very soon from the other side that will be talking about school funding. When you're talking ADM and student, where it comes into play is those really tiny school districts. That one student can significantly impact funding for our small schools. And although the narrative seems to be that school districts are trying to abuse these situations, this is the funding that allows them to provide the services for everyone, all students, homeschool students, the students that are there. This is the funding that is provided for it. So it's not a, we have to get one over. It's the, I'm going to have to let a teacher go if I can't keep this human. And that's also why we've had the 3-year rolling average, is because that 3-year rolling average has allowed some leeway for school districts to not have to be so completely dependent on one child's school attendance. This is actually a very serious thing to consider when you're looking at attendance. And I'm going to bring an amendment for another one because this would solve this problem right now too. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Other members for their first time on the amendment? Representative? No. Any others? Representative Straw? Representative Locke, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First time for a second time.
First for a second, Representative. Any others like to speak on this amendment? Seeing no one rushing to the microphones, I will say and ask for a second time, second go round on the amendment. Like to speak on it? Representative Andrew, I've got Andrew, Singh, Jarvis, and Locke. Seeing none, back to the bringer. Representative Harshman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Try to answer a couple of those questions. I think the chairman I don't want to say this the wrong way, but school districts aren't gaming the system. We've forced them into this because you still have a customer, the child, and you still have to provide all those services from teachers all the way through the model. And so we've forced this change on them. I don't think we realized fully at that time the impact on minutes in the classroom. It's a big deal. And so again, that equals to, and I did the math with the chairman yesterday and wrote down the public school math and did it for him. And it's about 19 days of a traditional 55-minute period. You were missing 19 days of that. That's 4 weeks. That's a lot less welding, a lot less history, a lot less math. And again, I know he hasn't taught or have kids in school. I have. I'm just telling you, we can fix this and it's not going to cost a bit. And you'll see these homerooms disappear. Not all homerooms are bad, but we want to, prioritize our time in front of the math teacher with the welding teacher, et cetera, not transferring to another little deal for 30, 40 minutes so we can make an artificial 85% that we imposed on them in a conference committee. This one deal will do more to help our education than anything. It really will, because it's time. And time is the most valuable resource we have. So appreciate your aye vote. Thank you, members. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're voting on second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 18. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Division. So I really can't tell. So all those in favor, please stand. You may be seated. All those in favor, please, or excuse me, all those opposed, please stand. Representative Clouston, are you inside the bar? Okay, thank you. All right, you may be seated. The amendment has not been adopted, 24 to 33. Okay, members, Senate File 18 having been read two separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next amendment, well, Representative Pendergraft, you have something before we move on here, sir.
Mr. Speaker, a privilege, please.
Please proceed.
Thank you. It was about a year ago that I was honored to bring in Coach Mowry of the Sheridan Bronc football team, along with members of his staff and members of his football team. And at that point, I don't remember exactly how many consecutive wins they'd had without a loss, but I wanted to give you a little update. Sheridan Broncs are right now the second longest winning streak in the nation, 56 consecutive games, 5 straight undefeated state championships. Go Broncs.
Congratulations, Bronx. Obviously, have got a good thing going, so you don't want to ever quit a winning horse in that respect. So, all right, thank you. Next amendment, or excuse me, our next bill for our consideration will be Senate File 24, having been read two separate times. Question. Oh yeah, you got to read it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Senate File 24, sponsored by Travel, Lottery Tickets, Acceptance of Debit Card Payments, an act relating to the Wyoming Lottery.
Senate File 24 having been read two separate times. Question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 28.
Senate File 28, sponsored by Corporations, Elections, Voting Machine and Voting System Tests, an act relating to elections.
Senate File 28 having been read two separate times. Question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 30.
Senate File 30, sponsored by Corporations, Elections, Voter Registration Revisions, an act relating to elections.
Senate File 30 having been read two separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 31.
Senate File 31, sponsored by Corporations, Uniform Mortgage Modification Act, an act relating to mortgages.
Senate File 31 having been read two separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection from the body, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 47.
Senate File 47, sponsored by Education, Increase of Hathaway Scholarship Awards, an act relating to increasing the Hathaway Scholarship Program awards.
Okay, we have amendments. Representative Harshman, please. Number one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd move amendment number 1 to Senate File 47. Members, this is the same amendment that you adopted in House Bill 1. I gave you another handout. It's the same handout. And it just goes back to kind of the reset at the beginning. 100% of tuition for the honor scholarship, 75 for performance, and 50 for opportunity. And that's based on UW's, our University of Wyoming's tuition at this time, now in 2026. So go back to 2006, that's where we were at. We fell off over time. We're hitting the reset. So it's not much more money. It's all within the bounds. And we've already talked about it. So I'd answer any questions. Please vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any members on the amendment first time? Seeing no members, thank you, Representative. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 47. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. All right. Senate File 47 having been read two separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Okay, before we go on to third reading, Representative Angelos, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I have a privilege of the floor?
You certainly may, Representative. Proceed.
All right, so up in the South Gallery, and we could have all of you stand who are up in the South Gallery. This is Thunder Basin High School's senior government class. They are only here for like 2.5 hours because it's such a long drive. They drove down this morning. We'll be driving back this afternoon, and they are accompanied by their teachers, Tracy Schlodweiler. I don't know if I said that. We call her Schlod. She was my own kids' teacher. And Bella Mancini. Thank you guys for bringing them down. Could we give them a round of applause?
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Camels, for being here. Appreciate you taking the time and a long and arduous bus ride down here. My Moorcroft Wolves were down here the other day. It's a long old trek. And so, but we do appreciate you being here and coming and being involved and for wanting to understand better how government works. And your interest in that will pay dividends for years to come. Representative Thayer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
Please proceed.
So today in the West Gallery, we have a portion of Leadership Carbon County, if they would like to stand. It's been a very busy day in the galleries. And this is a portion of them. The other half is over in the Senate, or excuse me, in the other house. And this is our 7th year of our leadership class. And we actually have a couple of classes of 2025. They were so excited, they wanted to come back. So thank you, Leadership Carbon County, on our program.
And I'm assuming we got a follow-up from the good Representative Bratton, please.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a follow-up. Thank you to the good representative for introducing Leadership Carbon County. And I am also proud to say that my son-in-law, Kyle Spencer, is a member of this year's program. So thank you, and please welcome him to the chamber.
Thank you for being here and welcome to the House. Appreciate that. Look at that. Somebody with a son-in-law that they're doing the whole wave and the heart thing. You're in good shape, fella. Good job. Well done. So, okay, next up, we have a re-referral. So Representative Standing Committee re-referral reports after the Standing Committee right in, but we have a re-referral. So Chairman Rodriguez-Williams, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 10 would like to re-refer Senate File 4 to committee number 2.
Seeing no objection, referred to committee number 2, appropriations. Thank you, Chairman. Okay, moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have some standing committee reports, please? Reading clerk.
Senate File 32, sponsored by corporations, 911 funding, an act relating to emergency telephone service. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 2 appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 32 engrossed, 911 funding, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman. Senate File 39, sponsored by Senator Crago. Long-term homeowners tax exemption, sunset repeal, an act relating to taxation. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 3 revenue, to whom is referred Senate File 39 engrossed, long-term homeowner tax exemption amendments, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Riggins, Stivar, Wharf. Conflict, Representative Storer. Representative Locke, Chairman.
Thank you, reading clerk. Unless there's something else, we will be moving on. What have we got here? Third reading. Okay, we're going into third reading. Regular list. The first bill for our consideration is House Bill 103. Reading clerk.
House Bill 103, sponsored by Representative Ottman. Wyoming First Amendment Protection Act, an act relating to civil procedure being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Representative Brady, please.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning, Representative Brady. Please proceed.
I respectfully withdraw third reading amendment number 1 on House Bill 103. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Seeing no objection from the body, third reading amendment number 1 has been withdrawn. Okay, House Bill number 103 having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Assistant Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Alamand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Lisa, Campbell Kevin,
Excused. Yeah, he is excused.
Chestick, Clauston, Clauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Feiler, Bornstrom, Geringer, Gugemas, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storr, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Wash, Washit, Wasserberger excused, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Clauston absent to further changes. Larson JT, I to conflict. Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 52 aye, 4 no, 2 conflict, 4 excused.
House Bill 103, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, House Bill 103 has passed the House. Next bill for our consideration. Oh, Representative Erickson,
Privilege.
please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to, been waiting all morning for them. Got to be around them this morning and help with their tour throughout the Capitol. But the best of the best, Star Valley Middle School Warriors are here today. Their student government class and organization is with us. I've traveled all these 8 hours down here. So I think I've got the top on that as far as the amount of time traveled, but they're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to have their experience in the state's capital. Special recognition to them are their 3 teachers that are accompanying them, Mrs. Taylor, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Milne. Again, top-notch, training our future leaders in the state of Wyoming. All have the great values and culture that we so much commend in the state of Wyoming. I'd like you to stand and give them a recognition. Star Valley Middle School. Thank you.
Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 126. Reading clerk, would you please read the bill?
House Bill 126, sponsored by Representative Nyman. Human Heartbeat Act, an act relating to public health and safety, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Speaker Nyman.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you amendment number 1, third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 126, and would ask for your favorable consideration. This is the amendment we discussed yesterday. A good representative removed his amendment in an effort, commitment we made to go back and talk to some of the stakeholders and try to do something that is going to be more workable in the bill and hopefully try to provide some protection for some of the folks that could potentially in this situation be challenged with some issues. And so just give you a little bit of idea, this amendment was worked on with the support of stakeholders and groups and medical professionals to address the concerns brought up yesterday. I actually I personally didn't get terribly deeply involved in this. I did somewhat there later on, but I set a group of people about working, trying to make sure that we contacted the people who are going to be affected by this, had actual conversations with them, and then we sat down together afterwards, came up with what we thought was a pretty elegant and workable plan after getting information from them and saying this would definitely help them to be able to navigate this, and they were good with the legislation after that was what we found from them. This addresses the concerns that pharmacists and nurses without prescribing authority could otherwise be caught up in punitive action. And that was what we were discussing yesterday, even though they are not always fully informed about the critical rationale for why the medication was prescribed. And so that's one thing we're wanting to try to avoid, people being caught up in something unnecessary. Well, this amendment clarifies that licensure actions, and that's what the big issue we're talking about here, the licensure actions occurs only after an individual has been convicted or is found guilty of an offense. And that was the discussion that we actually had with the pharmacists. It protects due process and ensures that professionals with prescribing authority who are acting in good faith are not subjected to punitive action simply for doing their jobs, while preserving the board's ability to act decisively against bad actors once wrongdoing has been legally established. So it's not going to be a broad sweep. It's not going to grab people in. It's going to give them the opportunity to be able to have their opportunity to present their occupational connection to this and give them the protections that they need. But it also still does provide ongoing protection for those, or actually action against those that are, doing what they shouldn't be doing and are going to be against this legislation. So it provides protection while still providing coverage. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Representative McCann for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Just to confirm what I brought to the fore yesterday, I did call a pharmacist yesterday, and she did confirm that they do have the right of first refusal, if you will. So they can refuse these orders if they will, if they don't feel comfortable with them. So just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Representative Lawley for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. On and for the amendment, and I won't belabor it for all the reasons the good speaker has already said. Thank you.
Anyone else for their first time? Their first time, second time, back to the bringer. Speaker Nyman.
Thanks, Speaker Pro Tem. I just think this is a good way. This is a good example of how we can refine legislation. As the author of the legislation or the prime sponsor, I appreciate the body's desire to try to make this better, that we send a really good product to our counterparts to the West. And that was my commitment to all of you. We did the work, and I appreciate your support on this amendment. Thank you.
We are voting on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 126. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. That amendment passes. House Bill 126, having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk, would you please call the roll? Assistant Chief Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Lisa, Campbell Kevin. Excused.
Excused.
Chestick, Clouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Fornstrom, Geringer, Gugemas, Haroldson,
Aye.
Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storr, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washit, Watzenberger excused, Webb, Weber, Worf, Wharf,
Excused?
Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 51 aye, 7 no, 4 excused.
House Bill 126, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members of the House, they have elected the House. Bill 126 has passed the House. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 159.
House Bill
Reading-
159, sponsored by Representative Lean. Safeguarding personal expression at K through 12 schools, an act relating to education, being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Representative Jarvis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that third reading amendments number 1 to House Bill 159 and ask for your favorable consideration. I'm going to try a cannoli kind of thing. And say the one thing that I removed from this amendment was the during school hours, because that was probably why you guys all didn't vote for this. Because I can't wrap my brain around why on earth we want to take away school policies and procedures to be able to keep students safe. Thank you.
Anyone for their first time? Representative Lean for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. On and opposed to the amendment. Excuse me. The First Amendment doesn't stop at the door of the schools, as we've been told from the highest court in the land. And this legislation helps set the policy for these school districts to be able to govern their dress codes and their free speech within their school. If there is school policy that is currently inhibiting the First Amendment from being protected within those school districts, it is imperative that we take the time right now to course correct them. This body and our colleagues down the hall are setting legislation, which is a policy decision which will guide our school districts to be able to enable our First Amendment rights to be had to the fullest extent. And with that, I ask for a no vote.
Anyone else for their first time? First time? Representative Conley for your first time.
Good morning, thank you. I am in favor of the amendment in working with people in my district. They feel that creating a private cause of action with monetary damages against districts is questionable, and it dramatically increases litigation exposure even when administrators and teachers act within the established constitutional standards. And it really also introduces legal ambiguity in grading curriculum, classroom management decisions. And Wyoming schools already follow federal constitutional law. So I have to support this amendment. Thank you.
Representative Davis for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I'd like to maybe reflect this back into the real world that we live in. You know, as a former employee, First Amendment rights, those are not contested. But as a former employee, I have to make my people wear hard hats, safety glasses, whether they want to or not, fireproof or fire retardant clothing, cell phone usage, we have to tend with that when we're on the jobs, timely arrivals for them to be there on time to go to work, required training. This is the real world, you know, and then after they're off the clock, then they can do their First Amendment rights, you know, and practice them in full, you know, but there's standards that we have to enforce in the real world, in the job world. And so I think what we're looking at here is, in my opinion, we're sending our kids to school as a job. We're there to educate them and get them prepared for their next step in life. And so by removing some of these sideboards, I see it as a problem. You know, our districts and school boards have understood this, and this is what they require to prepare our students as we're educating them, our job training for the next section of their life. So unfortunately, I understand the free amendment, First Amendment rights and all this stuff, but they've got time to do this after school, after job training. Let's look at our students. This is what we need to prepare them for, is the future. That's my opinion. So I'm on and for the amendment here.
Anyone else for their first time? First time? Second time? Representative Lean for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to clear up a few things from the other speakers, this won't increase any litigation unless your school district is currently breaking the First Amendment rights of students K through 12. To the good speaker that has the racehorses, this wouldn't apply to the private sector. This only applies through K through 12 schools, and it does not impose on the school district to say that there are safety standards. It still does not impose the school districts for their anything that would be considered disruption, harassment, bullying. All of that can still be taken care of in a very civil manner through their policies, which are likely already set. This would change that instead of going to the federal courts, which cost our school districts a lot of money, it would then go through the district courts. And yes, it does provide for a civil cause of action, but our parents need to have recourse when the school boards are not listening and they're impeding on our First Amendment rights. So with that, I stand in opposition to the amendment and in favor of the bill. Thank you.
Anyone else for their second time? Second time back to the sponsor, Representative Jarvis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No district, again, we kind of talked about this yesterday, no district can override state law, no state law can override federal law. So if there is a problem within the district's policies, address the policy. But this bill does not do that. This bill actually gives children the right to override school policies and school procedures, and it was written with that intent. It exceeds and extends the law. Like, I don't know how to better put this. And I guess there's a little bit of misunderstanding. Things don't just go to federal court. Like, they start either in civil or district, and then they go to federal because of an appeal. That's how you can get to federal courts. You don't just get to go straight to federal court without there being some pre-proceedings. So, and every single school district has the ability to, if you have a problem with a policy, to file a formal complaint. So while I understand the intent of the bringer, I think this opens up a lot of litigation that could be easily solved through the adoption of this amendment. Therefore, I ask for your favorable consideration.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 159 having been read 3 separate times, the question is, we're on the amendment. Thank you, guys. Okay, we are on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 159. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. That amendment fails. House Bill 159 having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Assistant Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Lisa, Campbell Kevin, excused, Chestick, Croston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Gugemas, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lolly, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Riggins, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washit, Wasserberger, excused, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Posey, no to aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 52 aye, 7 no, 3 excused.
House Bill 159, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, House Bill 159 has passed the House. Okay, Representative Campbell, please, you have something for us.
Yes, if I may have a quick privilege,
You
please.
certainly may. Please
Thank you,
proceed.
Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure where in our gallery, so I'm going to have you guys stand up first. Yay! In our south, I know this now. So in our south gallery, I'm very happy to welcome our Leadership Casper 2026 class. So Leadership Casper, it is an 8-month commitment. We meet one day a week, and one day a month. Yeah, one day a week. That would make it even more so. One day a month. And I am very grateful. I get to have the first 4 hours with these guys in terms of professional development. And then we go out into the community just to learn more about the community, the resources, the network, connect with all of the good work being done in our community. So they are here for the next couple of days to invest their time in being part of our process. So if you would please help me welcome Leadership Casper 2026.
Good morning and welcome, Leadership Casper. Welcome to the House. Thank you for being here. Representative, really? Majority Leader, really? Let's do this.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House resolve itself into committee of the whole.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Motion has been adopted. Representative Yin, committee of the whole.
Committee of the Whole will please come to order. The first bill for our consideration will be Senate File 45. The reading clerk will read the bill.
Senate File 45, sponsored by Management Council, local approving for simulcasting, an act relating to pari-mutuel wagering. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred Senate File 45 engrossed. Local approval for simulcasting, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Schmid, Tarver, Weber. Representative Heiner, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Heiner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Senate File number 45 do pass. And I turn the explanation of the bill over to the good representative from Laramie County.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to say that this is an agriculture bill because it
supports the horse racing industry in Wyoming. We're allowing local control for the HHR, the horse racing machines that are in everybody's city and town and county, or most of them, and allows the local control to say where these machines and what zones they're going to be in and where they are going to be around in their counties. So I would appreciate everybody read over the bill. It allows the counties and the cities to agree on where these machines are going to go and approves them, and it will enforce their behavior throughout the process. Thank you.
Any discussion on the bill? Discussion on the bill? Are you ready for the question? Okay. Question having been called. All those in favor, always good to read the script. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Heiner's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that Senate File 45 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Senate File 45 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is Senate File 52. The reading clerk will read the bill.
Senate File 52, sponsored by SNRF. 2026 Large Project Funding, an act relating to the Wyoming Wildlife and Natural Resource Funding Act. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 2 appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 52 engrossed 2026 Large Project Funding, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Smith, Vice Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that Senate File 52 do pass. And further, I'll leave the explanation of the bill to the good representative from the east-northeast part of our state.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, before you, there's 2026 large project funding for, I'll use some proper names here because they're in the bill, the Wyoming Wildlife and Natural Resource Trust. And you would recall that any project that exceeds $400,000 needs the legislature's approval. And so quickly, I'll look through the bill. The first project is Upper Grable Fish Passage number 3. If you have that bill in front of you on line 2. The number behind the project name indicates what stage of the project we are in. And so number 3 would probably be the third year that, or the third time that WWNRT has supported work on the Upper Grable Fish Passage project. And so that is restoring native fisheries, riparian areas, vegetation management, riparian restoration, mostly to aid migration and movement of native fish species. That takes in irrigation systems where fish are lost and erosion issues. They support replacing culverts that are, that there's too much of a drop on the downstream side for fish to migrate up the creek or river. And if you look at the bottom of page 3, $150,000 is all it that was supported by WWNRT this year, but the total cost of the project is for over $400,000, or the total funds that they've sent in the past exceeds $400,000. So that's why this project is in this large project funding bill. Also in this bill is the Baggs Valley Headwaters number 5. And that's 5,500 acres in Carbon County. That project has been going on for years. That is a habitat project for mule deer, elk, moose, antelope. Maintains migration corridors, et cetera. Happy to talk more about that. That's a $700,000 ticket this year. On page 6, Absaroka Front Cheatgrass Project. This is the same topic that we discussed during the budget, and that's the spraying of cheatgrass for our native species, mule deer, elk, moose, antelope, bighorn sheep habitat, core population areas. It maintains those for the sage grouse. One of the justifications for this type of expenditure, other than maintaining our natural resource, is it gives us standing when species is considered to be endangered, and we can justify that we've been proactively managing these ecosystems and our natural resource to the benefit of these species, and it I'd welcome any discussion and look forward to your favorable consideration.
Is there any discussion on SF 52? Question having been called. All those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that Senate File 52 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate File 52 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is actually Senate File 6, not Senate File 4, because Senate File 4 was just re-referred to appropriations. So we are on Senate File 6. Reading clerk will read the bill.
Senate File 6, sponsored by Labor, eligibility for Medicaid criteria, an act relating to medical assistance and services. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred Senate File 6 engrossed. Eligibility for Medicaid criteria, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Clouston, Guggenmoss, Heft, McCann, Rodriguez-Williams, Thayer, Yin. Noes, Representative Ottman. Excused, Representative Wasserberger. Representative Rodriguez-Williams, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Rodriguez-Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that Senate File 6 do pass. This bill is titled Eligibility for Medicaid Criteria. It was worked during the interim. It essentially codifies current Department of Health rules that pertain to Medicaid eligibility, including a U.S. citizenship requirement and a Wyoming residency requirement. And the bill goes into effect July 1, 2027, if passed. I'll stand for any questions.
Any discussion on the bill? Discussion on the bill? All right. Question having been called. All those in favor of Chairman Rodriguez-Williams' motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that Senate File 6 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Senate File 6 having passed the committee of the whole, the next bill for our consideration is Senate File 9. The reading clerk will read the bill.
Senate File 9, sponsored by Judiciary. Fentanyl to minors, enhanced penalty, an act relating to controlled substances. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 1, Judiciary, to whom is referred Senate File 9, fentanyl to minors, enhanced penalty. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes, Representatives Brady, Bratton, Chestick, Filer, Lean, Singh, Washit, Webb. Excused, Representative Kelly. Representative Washit, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Washit?
Mr. Chairman, I move when committee of the whole rises for report, it do so with the recommendation that Senate File 9 do pass, and I turn over explanation of the bill to the good Vice Chairman of Committee number 1.
Vice Chair Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate File 9 is a committee bill, has to do with fentanyl to minors and an enhanced penalty. If you look on page 3, this is the meat of the bill, starting on line 7 to 17. Any person who is at least 18 years old of age or who violates Wyoming statute 357103(1)(a) by distributing fentanyl to a person under the age of 18 years old is guilty of a felony punishable by the fine authorized by Wyoming statute 357103(1)(a)(2) by a term of imprisonment of up to twice that is authorized by 35711031(a)(2) or both, as used in the subsection, and this is important, fentanyl includes fentanyl and any isomer, ester, ether, salt, or salt of isomers, esters, and ethers of fentanyl, whatever the existence of these isomers, esters, ethers, and salts is possible within the specific chemical designation of fentanyl. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Folks, so this encompasses a growing issue. So we've, in a lot of ways, heroin was seen as that fentanyl was seen as like an upgrade to heroin. Well, this chemistry is moving quickly, and we're seeing another substance that's on our streets in Wyoming called carfentanil, and it's over 100 times more potent than fentanyl itself. However, this bill, because of the language that we have from lines 13 to 17, it covers that base. And so I ask for your support in passing this bill. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on Senate File 9? Okay, question having been called. All those in favor, all those in favor of Chairman Waschitz's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that Senate File 9 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Senate File 9 having passed Committee of the Whole, I'm just going to quickly look to our Majority Floor Leader because the next bill has amendments, and curious on whether he wants to break now or after. Majority Floor Leader Heiner.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee of the whole begs leave to rise and sit again until 2 p.m.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Committee reports. Committee Chairman, committee reports. The motion has passed. Sorry, committee announcements. It's been a while. Thank you. Chairman Byron.
Thank you, Minority Floor Leader. Glad you got that right because I don't have a report, but I do have an announcement. Your TRW committee will meet upon noon recess. So right now, down in E005 to hear Senate File 24, leash dogs for tracking black bears, and Senate File 124 engrossed. Additionally, we'll hear from our good folks at WWNRT and our Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund. Thank you.
Chairman Washit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your committee number 1 will meet at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Here are 3 bills: Senate File 71, Senate File 88, and Senate File 56, starting at 8 o'clock.
Chairman Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your committee number 2, Appropriations, will meet in room 301 in 30 minutes at 12:30 to continue discussing Senate File 001 and any re-referrals as assigned.
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, is going to meet in 15 minutes, and we will be hearing Senate File 12, Senate File 13, and Senate File 67.
Any other committee announcements? Going once, going twice. We are in recess, members. See you at 2 p.m.